Georgia Virtue presents the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast.
Thank you for downloading episode 324. This week, we have some runoff results. These 15, 10 commandments. Orange is the new green. The worst hair in court has been released from prison. A what pit? No white men need apply. No speed internet, and the undebate. With me is I'm Dave Roberts. Sorry, I'm all out of sorts, man. I know. I'm Dave Roberts. With me is my partner in this endeavor, Representative Emeritus, and County Commissioner-elect Ken Pullen.
Wow, how did that happen?
Well, it wasn't by hard work. I know that.
Oh, please. Yeah, last Tuesday, it was, I know we're going to update the runoffs, but yeah, last Tuesday, I actually had to go on a business trip to Nashville. So I watched all the election results from Nashville, which that might be the craziest place I've ever been now. If you haven't been in a while, Tuesday night was like Saturday night in Vegas. There were people everywhere.
We've all seen the video.
Yeah, we're not talking about that video though. There's probably there may be young kids that listen to this. No, it's just amazing how crowded Nashville was. Yeah, but last Tuesday I watched the election results. Most people probably know I was running for county commissioner, and ended up winning my race on Tuesday, winning the runoff. So,
and you have no Dem, right?
No Dem in November. This is still one of the partisan county commissioner races. So no Dem in November. I'll still be on the ballot, but we'll go in, I guess, next January. And Jessica said she was going to keep a close eye on me once I got in.
Yeah, she said she can't wait to write about you.
I know, and I said, I need to stay off your radar. you never want to get on Jessica's radar.
Well, unless you're the commissioner that speaks up during open meeting and says, put your phones away.
Yes.
Yeah, look, if you see two of them texting each other, it's a violation of the Open Meetings Act.
Yep, I know. You got to be careful.
You got to be careful, but the other thing is having trusting a county attorney that will hold the commissioners accountable, not just cash their checks.
Yeah, I agree. I think most of these county attorneys, I don't know about the ones up your way, but our county attorney is also the city attorney for quite a few of our municipalities around town. They've got to be running all over the place. It's it'll be interesting to see how the time is allocated. And yes, I won't go any further on that.
Well, as long as the county is getting billed for the actual hours and they're not double dipping.
Yeah.
That would be newsworthy. Yeah. And that would be, Szilagyi coming in with the big S on her chest and a cape behind her, holding the dumpling as she flies into town to expose the corruption.
Yeah, and we, up in the county I live in, we have an investigative journalist in town that really keeps the local commissioners accountable for stuff and reports on everything. So we have sort of a Jessica in our area, and she does a really good job just holding people accountable and putting stuff online. If this person wasn't putting notes online about meetings, it'd be really hard to find. So our county commissioners, there's not a lot of communication that comes out. So I hope to change that.
I'd also like to see a warm handoff.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have that in my county, but it would be nice. Yeah, it would be, but I don't think we will.
Well, you're not going to have that down in was it Bullock County either with
Daphne Totten, yeah.
Well, Daphne Totten, and then you also have, and that's the Ogeechee Judicial Circuit. You also have, which was a hotly contested commissioner race in Bullock County, which was Newkirk versus Jappy Stringer. And people remember that Jappy was the one that I didn't know if it was pronounced that or pronounced Happy or what it was. But yeah, it's Jappy. And I looked up the name. And it's an old family last name. I think is how he got it. So, but he apparently is very sour about losing to Newkirk. And look, Newkirk ran a good campaign. I think we are in a anti-builder, anti-incumbent cycle right now.
We are sort of in an anti-incumbent cycle. Yes. I agree with you.
Out here, the chairman's race was decided back in May. They painted one of the guys, Brian Stover, as a builder because he runs a roll-off company. He's not a builder. But they did the same thing to Scott Richards, who was running for post 4 to replace Brian Stovers because he had to step down to run for chairman. And he lost because they painted him as a builder. And wow. Truthfully, Scott is a builder. He just doesn't operate within our county, so it really has no bearing on the election. Shouldn't have had any bearing on the election, but it certainly did because of perception. What I fear is these counties that keep running builders off, we lose people with perspective of how codes work, how zoning works. So you may have somebody who's a realtor, you have somebody who's a real estate agent, or you have somebody who's a banker or investment person or whatever. They don't understand what building codes mean. They just say, oh, we're going to build them all out of brick now. That sounds better. Until a builder says, brick's just a facade. It's just something that leans up against the wooden structure. It doesn't add anything to the structure. The house is no more structurally sound or fireproof for that matter, just because it's brick versus being hardy plank. And of course, vinyl siding will burn pretty easy, but it's not something that it's something I've seen friends who get their grills a little too hot and melt their vinyl siding, but it didn't cause the whole neighborhood to go down, which is what everybody says, like vinyl siding, the whole neighborhood goes down. You light one house. No. But yeah, so I think we're in that cycle. Every county, every minor county, like yours and mine, because I don't know how far you are from an interstate, but we're an hour from an interstate practically. It is practical speaking, unless you leave it at 2:00 in the morning, we're an hour from the interstate. So they keep saying build commercial. Like, well, how do you get products out if there's no interstate? There's no transportation to get whatever product you produce in a factory out. People don't want to hear that. All they want to hear is traffic sucks. We don't have the roads. We don't have the schools, which I agree with. But these candidates promise stuff like you and I were talking beforehand, like I'm going to stop all track building. You can't. The stuff's already zoned for it. You can't stop it. I'm not going to. You should not comment on that. That is my commentary, not necessarily those of anybody that's actually on the show. So, District 2, Wayne Johnson defeats Chuck Hand. Yeah, 67.7.
He had a 34.3. So this is the
well, you can do the math from 100.
Yeah, this is a Republican candidate that's running against who's the incumbent in District 2, Sanford Bishop. So Sanford Bishop's a Democrat. This is a slightly Republican district, but Sanford Bishop's been in office for 30 years. He's got a ton of great connections, and he's really considered a friend by the farmers down there in District 2. More likely, Sanford's going to win again. But what was interesting about this race is Chuck Hand was the guy that got convicted of a misdemeanor for going into the Capitol on January 6th. So he really, that was Chuck Hand. He ended up losing pretty big, but that's why Chuck Hand got a lot of attention in that race. And then in District 3, which is the district I live in, Brian Jack beat Mike Dugan, who you interviewed last week for the show, 62-37. And Brian Jack was, he worked at Trump staff when he was in office. He's worked in D.C. for quite a few years, and he had the full Trump endorsement. And I think that's what really helped Brian Jack to win.
Tons of money.
Tons of money. The money was just unlimited. Yeah, he was on TV, sent out a bunch of mailers. Yeah, the money was unbelievable.
I saw TV commercials where I am. Of course, I'm not that far out of District 3.
No, but they were. I mean, these were not. These were professionally produced advertisements. This was really, not a dude with a standing in front of a camcorder going, I'm running for Georgia 3. No, these were very well produced. Now, I got a question for you. Is this a leading indicator for November for Georgia? Because up until now, Trump's coattails have not been very wide. No, I mean, I think District 3 is kind of I think the one you're in is a little different. These are hardcore. District 3 is a 75% Republican district. I don't know if this race had anything to do in November, but it still shows that in in a heavy R district, that Trump endorsement means a ton. Now, what it means for Trump in Georgia overall, I don't know if we can. I don't think we can take anything out of it. It's just really big.
Well, and I understand this is versus a statewide race, but Herschel Walker just performed so poorly. Now, look, he was a crap candidate. He really was. I mean, he's just an awful candidate. But with the Trump endorsement, did nothing for him.
Yep. No, I mean, I think candidates still matter. Everybody talks about candidates, but candidates are very important. I think a couple other things before we move off these election results is and I heard some of my friends, they've got another Peach Pundit podcast. They were talking about how the runoff numbers were way down. State House 96, and you're going to fall out when you hear this. So this is a state house race. State house candidates, our state house districts are comprised of around 60,000 people in Georgia. So if you win a state house race, you represent about 60,000 people. This is in a Democrat district, but Arlene Bickles won that race with 217 votes as a Democrat. So 207, this is the lowest vote total I think we've ever had to win a state representative race in Georgia. 217 votes out of 60,000 people. Isn't that amazing?
Wasn't your post like 600, 700 votes?
Yeah, I had over 500 votes for a county commission race just for one district in the county. Yes,
right. One out of four?
Yes, this is amazing. 217. The point that people are trying to make this week is, and this goes, I mean, we've had this debate before about ranked choice voting, but when you I mean, these runoffs are really disenfranchising a ton of voters because even in the state house, even in this U.S. House District 3 race, 25,000 people that voted in the primary in May did not go back to the polls in the runoff. I mean, those kind of, so when you start thinking about the taxpayer dollars that are being spent for these runoffs, the number of people that just don't go back to vote in the runoffs, it just feels like Georgia needs to do something and move towards some other way of deciding this in a primary without having to do a runoff.
Well, I'd like to know in 96 what it was spent per vote by the state.
I know.
Because honestly, you're talking about 217 votes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, are we talking about spending $100 per vote? $1,000 per vote?
There's no tell. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to look back and see how much they spent. Probably the most expensive.
It'd be difficult because it's only that house district, and it may straddle a couple different counties.
See. I mean, but you can
that's
see
kind
of
hard to find.
Yeah, you can see how much they spent. The one that really spent a ton of money is State Representative Stephen Sands. He went into office back in 2019. He was challenged this time around, and he actually defeated Glenn Cook 52.5 to 47.5. The numbers coming in for Representative Sands campaigns, he spent over $300,000 in this House race.
Well, what I was talking about with 96 is how much the state was spending per vote.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it costs a lot of money. I mean, this is the thing you get with these large counties like Gwinnett is you'll have over 1 million people in a county. So the district is literally a square mile, because they've got so many people comprised or so many people living in that little tiny area. But there's still probably 2 or 3 precincts. You've got to have a week of early voting. You've got to have election day. You've got all those people that you're paying to sit at the polls. Yeah, it's really expensive to open up a polling location and to run runoff. But you're right. There's no telling how much you'll spend per vote.
All right. Did you get my Mel Brooks reference in the preview?
I did.
You did. Oh, nice. The 10 Commandments in Louisiana. So, State Rep Dodie Horton could not sound any more Louisiana.
It does.
Republican is also the prime mover behind the state's bill prohibiting teachers from discussing gender identity or sexual orientation from kindergarten to 12th grade, referred to by critics as "don't say gay," which is stupid. That's not what it says. But anyway, so Louisiana passed a bill that requires a display of the 10 Commandments, and it must be readable, it must be a certain size, And I think last Wednesday, the governor signed it.
Yes, and it doesn't say that the state has to spend any money putting the Ten Commandments in. So the Ten Commandments will come from outside groups. So they're donating the money to do this. So no state money is going to be spent. But it does mandate, like you said, that they have to be in every classroom.
And it can be handwritten. It can be a piece of poster board. I mean, you could literally spend 30 cents per classroom, or a parent could say, okay, well, I'm going to, we're going to handwrite this, or we're going to run it through, everybody's got a printer now, or do whatever, but it's got to be legible. It's got to be a certain size. This is interesting because I think all three major religions recognize Moses.
They do in the commandments. Yeah, I agree. And look, even if you didn't know the Ten Commandments were from the Bible and you just had them, like if somebody had no idea what the Bible was, they walked up and saw the Ten Commandments, it's kind of a moral code for how you live your life. So I see what people are saying. Hey, this is biblical and it's it's a First Amendment type violation, but look, it's how you should. It's a moral code for living life. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not kill. I mean, what's that got? Who would agree that those are good things to do, right? So it's going to be interesting where this goes. I didn't realize this, but back in 1980, the Supreme Court ruled that classroom displays of the Ten Commandments were unconstitutional. The court's changed a lot since 1980. I don't know. I'm sure this is going to make it to the high court fairly quickly, though.
Why?
I don't know. Well,
just why? I don't understand picking the fight as a taxpayer.
Yeah,
because the best possible result is we spend tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, going all the way to the Supreme Court in order to defend the right to put a document on a wall.
I think this is one of those things, and we always say this, when any group reaches too far to either side, there's a whiplash. And what we see, this is during June again, where you've got Pride Month, you've got teachers putting the LGBTQ plus flag in their classrooms and displaying rainbows all over the classrooms. I think this is a reaction to a lot of that stuff that's going on, and it's a pushback and it's a snapback from liberal teachers indoctrinating children. And this lady said, well, we're going to put the Ten Commandments in the classroom. So I think everything ebbs and flows here, right? And it's not, this lady just didn't think, hey, I'm going to do this for no reason. She's doing it because of how schools are going.
What's funny is thou shalt not commit adultery. I'll tell you why it's funny. Adultery during the time of Moses was a crime of theft. The reason that Judaism is passed down from mother to child and not father to child is that was the only way to assure a pure bloodline.
Okay.
Because your daddy's only your daddy because your mama says so. Because DNA testing obviously didn't exist. So that was the big reason behind thou shalt not commit adultery. It is widely believed by historians that Moses would have had concubines that followed the caravan through the desert.
Okay.
From a historical standpoint, but look, I don't care one way or the other on it. I mean, to me, it's a historical document, so it's no different from putting the Magna Carta on the wall. It's a historical document. We know it dates back thousands of years. So if no one would have a problem if you put the Dead Sea Scrolls up on the wall, right? No problem. If you put the Parthenon, the Temple of Athena up there, and the inscriptions they found there up on the wall, historical document, no problem. We wouldn't see that as religious text, and I don't think that saying don't kill people, don't steal, don't want what somebody else has is bad.
It's not. That's why I have no problem with putting this up on the wall. I think kids need to see this as they're growing up.
Even if you're completely secular, it's a historical document. All right, so climate nuts decide to paint Stonehenge orange.
What is wrong with these people? I mean, Stonehenge has been there for 4,500 years. And I haven't been to Stonehenge yet. I actually want to go see it. But these crazy fools, this is when this incident came just before thousands were expected to gather at this site to celebrate the summer solstice, which occurred last week, which was the longest day of the year. And these two people ran up towards it and threw some kind of orange spray paint on the monument that's located in Southern England. They were using
fire extinguishers.
Yeah.
They loaded orange paint into fire extinguishers. And this same group in England cut a hole in the fence of a private airport with a grinding wheel and did the same thing to private jets.
Yep.
What do they think they're accomplishing?
Yeah, besides making people mad at them and less people going to their side. Yeah, I don't understand what the climate protesters, and they do this. They block streets. They spray paint stuff. I saw where they try to throw like oil on the Mona Lisa painting. Like, what is this getting you by destruction and tearing stuff up? You know, they glue themselves to the streets.
And I saw a video of two of the climate activists, and it was two chicks, just sitting down cross-legged on the tarmac and just hugging each other, so proud of what they've done. What did you do? All you do is piss a bunch of people off at you.
Right.
Now, at least the jets, you can make a loose argument that, okay, all right, if you truly believe that these things are adding to carbon or whatever, fine, right? But what has Stonehenge done to hurt you?
Yeah.
There were no machines to do any of the work. It was completely agrarian. They had to be moved by manpower and or animal power to move those stones hundreds of miles from where they're mined.
Yep.
Or quarried to get them in place. What does that do for you? What did the Mona Lisa do to you? It's on canvas, which is all natural, using oil paints, which was all natural. What did the Mona Lisa do to you?
Yeah, and this group is from Just Stop Oil, which, if you saw the girl interviewed, she had a Patagonia shirt on, and Patagonia has admit that they make their clothing, with like oil type products. So it's just these people are clowns. It's just a clown show.
Well, it's just like the people that go and protest the G6 summit holding iPhones.
Oh, I know, exactly.
Look, hypocrite is overused. You hit it. They're clowns. They're idiots. Look, the ones that block traffic, I truly believe that a semi should be completely within his rights to. What did Garth Brooks say? Never hit the brakes and shift in gears.
Exactly.
And look, I know that sounds cruel. You would put a human life ahead of your convenience? Yes. Every day. I was talking to a friend of mine who's also customer. He's an Army vet also, and I said I'm going to put a Dishka in the back of my truck like Haji. The Dishka is a Russian machine gun. It's basically 50 caliber. And whenever you see like a Toyota going through the desert and a guy wearing a turban, that's the Dishka in the back of the truck. I'm going to start using that to get people out of my way in traffic.
Yep.
But yeah, if you go and you block a bridge, you're putting people's lives in danger. Especially in New York, where you only have so many tunnels and so many bridges to get between where an ambulance is and where they need to go. And you're putting people's lives in danger, and you ought to be able to just run them over. And look, and Eric was particularly ticked off at that. I think it was the Andy Warhol. It was an F1 vehicle that was done up with Andy Warhol, and they threw a bunch of paint on it. Just why? You're not making anybody's point for you. You're not being brave. You're not making a point. You're not saving the environment. You're being a dick.
Exactly.
And I say that as somebody who has been one most of my life. But just going to a UNESCO World Heritage Site and just ruining people's solstice who are druids. Most people that go out there for the solstice are druids, which are people of the earth. Like, you couldn't pick a more friendly group to crap on. So, the worst hair in court. Justin Ross Harris. This is the guy 10 years ago who left his, I think, 22-month-old son in the backseat of his car when he went to work at Home Depot.
All day long.
Oh,
7
all
hours.
day long.
Yep, 7 hours.
Roasting in the car. And I listened to this trial. This was back when...
This was kind of captivated Georgia back in those days, didn't it? I mean, everybody was paying attention to this. Yes, right.
I listened to it on talk radio. Dr. Cool was just getting started. I was spending a lot of time in the truck. So I listened to this. This guy was friggin' bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Bizarre. Like, the questions he asked, like, did he suffer? And he asked, like, really weird questions about how he looked. And even at trial, some of the stuff that he said about, I always kiss him and say I love you. And why is that? He didn't say, because I love my son. He goes, in case I never see him again.
I know. And this happened, back in 2014 is when he dropped his, he actually forgot to drop his 22-month-old at daycare. Allegedly. Yeah, went to work at Home Depot. He was a web developer. Yeah, it was weird back in those days. But he got out actually on Father's Day from Macon State Prison after serving, I guess, 8 years of a sentence. He started on December 6, 2016. And then he got booked into Cobb County's jail later last Sunday to serve the remaining 2 years of a sentence in a county jail. So got out of prison and went straight to jail for another couple of years. So
I hope his time was very, very difficult.
But I doubt if he stays in jail that long, to be honest. These jails are packed. So it'll be interesting to see how much longer he stays in jail.
Okay, when I say worst hair in court, all right, think of Tony Danza from Who's the Boss? That's the haircut he took into court. Like, I mean, you could tell he's from Alabama. Yeah, it was bad, but just the weird stuff he was talking about. His wife was talking about the young girls he was talking to online. The dude is, he should not be on the streets.
No, he shouldn't. And when he gets out, I can't imagine what he's going to be like. I mean, hopefully he's been rehabilitated. But
has prison ever rehabilitated anybody?
I don't
no,
think
I
so
can't
nowadays.
say it.
Not Georgia prisons.
Yeah, he was in Macon State Prison, I think. Yeah, Macon State Prison. He allegedly murdered his child for the convenience of being able to screw around on his wife.
Yep.
And the macabre stuff that he Googled, he actually, as I recall, and this is going back 10 years, as I recall, he Googled things like how long it takes to die in a hot car and stuff like that. Very, very, very weird. But apparently the DA overreached on some of this stuff and he got a lot of it thrown out. And this is the sort of thing that happens when prosecutors go to spike the football instead of enforce the law.
Very true.
They went for the gusto. They knew the world's eyes were upon them, and they started swinging for home runs instead of winning the game. They started swinging for home runs because they knew they were on TV.
Yeah,
and that is honestly that's what I believe happened here. Had they tried a murder 2, had they gone with an appropriate charge, this guy would still be in prison right now and not sitting in Cobb County Jail just biding his time until
just waiting to get out.
Overpopulation hits him to the point where
that's what's going to happen. Yeah, that's totally what's going to happen.
Yeah, and then there's no law against him knocking somebody else up. And now you have another toddler in the back of his car. So, this is my opinion. Dude's a friggin' scumbag.
Yes, he is.
And if there was any justice in the world, he never would have made it out of. They'd have sent him to Smith State. If there was any justice, he'd have been in Smith State and let that take care of him.
Yep.
Because as we know, last week or week before, there was an actual shooting inside the prison by a prisoner. Like, I guess if you can get cell phones, you can get a gun too, right? All right, DEI is going after airplane names.
And I think this is, and I don't try to make this presidential, but this is why Biden's going to win. And it's some of these stories that we're talking about with the Stop Oil people, the DEI stuff that's going on.
That's why Biden's going to win?
No, why Biden's going to lose. It's because people are sick and tired of the craziness that's going on right now with liberals. And who would ever, I mean, again, we talked about a story last week, but this story this week is, so now the world's largest airline pilot union has told the airlines that need to stop using the term cockpit because it's non-inclusive. What normal individual is sitting out there today working a job that works 40 hours a week? They get to go home, spend a couple days on the weekend off, see their family, go back to work next week. Who in the hell is going, we need to stop saying cockpit when we get on a plane?
This goes back to the 1600s. Has nothing to do with the, it has to do with the pit they used to put gamecocks in. The term, I believe, originated with boats and fishing boats.
Yeah, it did. That's what I was reading about it. Yeah.
Yeah. The cockpit in a fishing boat is where you fight the fish. And it's usually a step down from the mezzanine. I know I sound like a douchebag. But it's a step down from the mezzanine. It's a pit area that you're fighting chairs in and all that stuff. So it resembles the fighting pit. So the same thing when they started making airplanes is they had this little pit area that looked like a cockfighting ring. It has nothing to do with genitalia. It's a comparison. Now, look, I haven't heard a commercial airliner use the term cockpit in probably 25, 30 years.
You hadn't heard them say that?
Usually they say flight deck.
Yeah, I think they do. It's just craziness with this is the DE&I inclusion language. And, they want people to stop using the words like man and men. And sometimes I'll be in a conversation with people and I'll say, how's it going, guys? I'll just say guys, and there'll be men and women in there. Maybe that's not I'm sure that's not the right thing to say. But
no, it is. It's the same thing as y'all.
Yeah, it's not, but I'm not trying to be gender exclusive or whatever it is. It's just words that people say, and 99.9% of the time, nobody's offended except these people that are sitting out there doing studies of this and want to beat other people over the head when they say words that they don't like. And this kind of craziness is what people are tired of. They're tired of this, and they're revolting against it. What
young woman who wants to become a pilot goes, oh, it's a cockpit, I don't qualify?
Yep.
What? No, I've never heard an honest woman who's offended by the term. Anybody in the industry knows where the term comes from. Everybody in the fishing community knows where it comes from.
Yep.
The line starts going off. You go from the lounge chair or whatever. You get to the cockpit, get in the fighting chair, and go. It's not. It goes back to the beginning of aviation. And look, I don't care if they call it a flight deck. A flight deck is probably more appropriate now because it's no longer a pit. It used to be you'd step down into the cockpit, and now it's kind of lateral. It's a flight deck, whatever. I don't care. But the fact that a union is spending its time, instead of representing its members and getting, whether it's fair pay or most importantly for pilots is mandatory time off and time out of, away from the throttle, that kind of stuff. Instead of focusing on safety, they're worried about terminology and that some trans person who has had an addictomy or whatever, and now is offended by it. No, that nobody is offended by it. No trans person, no honest trans person is offended by it. No honest woman is offended by it. It offends like 3 people, and they're extremely loud, and they have bullhorns. Yeah,
this was and it goes back. I was trying to remember the story we talked about last week. It goes back to the front hole, where where they refer to the cervix now as the front hole.
Dude, let's combine those stories. Don't call it a cockpit. Call it the front hole. It's not a flight deck. It's not a cockpit. It's the front hole.
But I do think the people in the middle, like if you're on the left, you're voting for Biden. If you're on the right, you're voting for Trump. But I think there is a swath of people in the middle that are getting so tired of this stuff being pushed down people's throats. And I think those people are going to go. I think those people are going to go for Trump. I just think the Democrats are falling right for this stuff. They could speak out against it too, but they refuse to.
But that's what we're seeing the black and brown community start to move towards Trump. And this is very reminiscent of 1980 with Reagan Democrats.
Yep.
Where they've had enough. The black and brown communities had enough. And again, Trump doesn't need to win 51% of the black vote to dominate.
No,
he needs to win 15.
Yeah, 10 to 15. Yeah, 10 to 15.
If he wins 20, it's a coup. But it's people in underprivileged communities. They're like, this is what they're focusing on. This, sorry, Eric, is what we're focusing on. We've got people starving in the streets. We can't get housing because we have immigrants flooding across the border. And you're worried about whether it's called a flight deck or a cockpit. This is what we're focusing on.
Yeah.
And that's why you're starting to see black and brown communities pulling away. And whether they go Trump or they go Kennedy or they go third party or they just sit it out. And those are the numbers we never see, are the people that sit it out and go, I don't like either one of these a-holes. And sit it out. And if someone from a minority community that voted for Biden in the last election and sits it out, that's a vote for Trump.
Yeah.
And what I think the news is not covering is this migration. It's not left to right. It's not. These folks are staying exactly where they are, and the Democrats are pulling away from them, and they're not changing where they are. I've said the same thing to the Republican Party. When the Republican Party started moving left, I didn't leave Republicans. They left me. I'm exactly where I was 20 years ago with my values, and my views on government are exactly where they were 20 years ago. I haven't changed. The shift to the left is what's caused me a change. Now, it hasn't caused me a change enough to vote Democrat or somewhere else or skip votes or that kind of stuff, but I can see where that's happened. And I can see where people from these communities in Chicago, Michigan, Wisconsin, they start seeing that the shift is going away from them, and they haven't changed their values. And I think that's what we're feeling right now. Now things could change in the next 4 months or whatever it is. Things could certainly change, but that's what I'm feeling right now.
I don't think it's changed. I mean, you saw, even last week, you had Putin meeting with the North Korean president, and at the same time, those two guys are meeting to talk about forming an alliance. You've got the White House welcoming whatever the queer show on TV was, and they're all dancing on the front of the White House. I mean, it looks like a clown show. It's
by the way, the dude that whipped his boobies out last year.
I know,
he's being accused of sexual assault by ex-partners, and with evidence and emails of saying, "I'm sorry, I forced myself on you."
Yep. So we've got. So it just looks like. The president looks like a clown show. I mean, that's what the White House looks like.
No, clowns are funny.
Yeah, they are. But
this isn't funny anymore.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's just it's ridiculous. But anyway.
All right. In the sake of time, so the Welsh want to prosecute politicians for lying.
Isn't this funny? Yeah, so they're saying under these proposals, it would be a criminal offense for a member or a candidate for election to willfully or with intent to mislead, make or publish a statement that's known to be false or deceptive. Proceedings have to be brought within 6 months. I mean, yeah.
This is from the Senedd.
Yes,
I guess this is their local parliament.
Yeah, I guess it is.
The UK is very different. You have different quote unquote countries within the kingdom.
Yep.
And they all send representation to Parliament in the UK. But within much like states. So it'd be like Georgia passing a law against politicians lying, which we'd have to build more prisons.
Yep. Yeah, and it would be reasonably inferred to be a statement of opinion, or if it were retracted with an apology within 14 days. So, if I guess you could apologize for lying within 14 days, that would be okay. And being prosecuted for this law would disqualify a person from being a Senate member.
Yeah, no, you could say you were wrong.
Yeah, you could say you're wrong, or you could apologize.
So if I say that you won by 20% in your race, well, that's factually inaccurate. Within 2 weeks, I have the ability to say, no, he was closer to 12%. I was wrong about that.
Yeah,
no problem.
Yeah, if you took a political candidate and said they never have voted to raise taxes, which we know that every I don't think there's a person serving in government today that has not voted to raise taxes. Please don't let anybody in the General Assembly tell you they haven't voted to raise taxes. They do it almost every single year. I guess they could apologize within 2 weeks. Is this hey, I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago I said I've never raised taxes. I have.
Now, what would be interesting is if they say, I will never raise taxes.
Yeah. But I guess a criminal offense would have to be brought in the future. I guess if you said that, somebody would have to, if you voted to raise taxes, I guess they'd have to bring it at that point.
That would make you a liar.
And you would have to apologize for ever saying that.
Man,
it's stupid. It's not going anywhere. It's just a funny story. Here's the
thing. It's like
George
H.W. Bush. No new taxes.
Yep.
And he wasn't lying when he said it. He wasn't lying when he said it. That's the difference. He wasn't lying when he said it.
Well, look, my first year in office, we voted when you used to buy stuff online for online retailers, they didn't charge sales tax, and a bill came up to force those online retailers to charge people sales tax. And the way that Republicans got around that is they said we want to make the playing field fair, so you have to pay sales tax when you buy something locally. If you're not paying it when you buy something online, then they've got an unfair advantage. Yeah, I get you, right? But it's still a tax increase. If you start saying people have to pay 7% now, it's a tax increase. So,
right.
And I voted against it, but almost every single person in the state house voted for it.
Well, it is the UK, so it might pass.
Yeah, it could over there. Yeah.
It might pass. So, poor Walt. His head is spinning in the vat.
And you love James O'Keefe, don't you?
I do love James O'Keefe.
He has some of the best stories.
Disney admits to not hiring white men.
Yes, they did another one of these undercover videos. I don't understand how people are still falling for these undercover videos. But they were interviewing this Walt Disney senior vice president. And the guy basically said on camera, you got to, X or Twitter and look at it. He said, hey, we don't hire white men anymore. We just don't do it.
James O'Keefe is it Project Veritas that he was doing?
Yeah, Project Veritas. Yeah, and then they got rid of him about a year ago. Yep.
He's the guy that went into Planned Parenthood and did a undercover video. It says, I want to make a donation. They said, great. Because I want to make sure it only applies to black babies. And they go, no problem. He also took, I can't remember what Hannah's last name is, but not his girlfriend, but his colleague, but took her in dressed up like a Miami Vice hooker, which is, okay. So she's wearing like some poofy thing and all that stuff, and he does another sting with being her pimp, and everybody, the left letting people accommodate him and all that stuff. So O'Keefe is funny as hell and very, very smart and very, very pointed in what he does. So yeah, Disney founded by a white man with a mustache.
Yep.
Good Lord. The latest Star Wars thing has completely flopped. It completely flopped because from what I understand is like two lesbians use the Force to create life or something like that. I'm like, okay, I'm out.
Hey, There you go. It's these far left policies again. I mean, we've been talking about it for 20 minutes now, but yeah, I mean, this guy said, I have friends, this is a quote from the guy that was being interviewed. He said, I have friends in HR and I have friends in other divisions. And they're like, look, nobody else is going to tell you this, but Mike, they're not considering any white males for the job. He also went on to say they had a biracial person that didn't look black enough, so they didn't even hire a biracial person.
Ooh.
Yeah, they're in trouble for this. This is going to continue.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
You're right. They're getting away with it. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah, they own ABC, they own ESPN. And I feel dirty every time I look up standings and stuff because the easiest place to go is ESPN.com to look up,
I don't go to
baseball standings
I
and stuff like
refuse
that.
to go to ESPN now.
I know, but for fantasy football, it's a really good resource for drafting and stuff.
I'm sure.
This is a good time to remind you that these are our opinions and not those of anyone not on the show or any respective company for which we may work, own, or otherwise associate ourselves with on a regular or irregular basis. Also, you can find other episodes and relevant stories of the GeorgiaVirtue.com. Kenny the Mule, I knew this was coming from 1,000 miles away.
This is Senator Chuck Schumer, who on Father's Day posted, put a picture of him on Twitter or on X. It's just hard to call it X at this point, but put a picture on Twitter of him outside grilling and said, he said, I've always grown up in an apartment, but my daughter and her wife, I'm at their house on Father's Day, and I'm outside grilling, and it shows the grill, and he's got some hot dogs that are ready. So hot dogs have cooked, and then he's got these gray-looking raw hamburgers on the right side of the grill, and he has put a piece of cheese on top of a raw hamburger on the grill.
And Kemp has jokes.
And did you see the comments on every single person was going off on Chuck Schumer for doing this, and he ended up deleting the photo. But yeah, Governor Kemp came back about a day later, and it showed Governor Kemp outside grilling hamburgers and hot dogs. And he
said, it's not my first rodeo.
Yeah, it's not my first rodeo.
Now, look, I don't like political stunts unless they're funny. That was funny.
Yeah, what Governor Kemp did was, and Senator Schumer was just stupid doing it. Nobody, look, you've been a senator for like 60 years. First of all, it's sad that you have never lived in a house with a porch on the backyard, but it's also sad that you have to somehow stage a photo to make people think you're more, this is something that you do all the time. Yeah, more human, right? Nobody cares.
First of all right, Dave Roberts, the campaign manager. Let the chef cook it, and then let's stage the photo of you putting the cheese on it. That's the way it's done. If you're going to do a still photo, it's one thing if you're doing a Facebook Live or something like that where you're showing yourself cooking or whatever. But if he's just going to stand there with a spatula in one hand and putting cheese onto a raw hamburger, you're an idiot.
Oh, totally.
But somebody on his team, some handler, should have said, let the chef, because you know damn well at this party he had a chef doing it, is have the chef cook it, and when it's done, when he's ready to add cheese, we'll bring you in and put a picture of you putting the cheese on.
And what the hell was he going to do? Flip the cheeseburger with cheese on top?
He doesn't know because he's never done it.
How have you never cooked a hamburger in your entire life?
He probably thinks hamburger is made of ham.
I don't even know what it was made of, too. It looked like a cheeseburger that had been sitting outside, in the heat all day.
That's something that's been sitting in the cooler too long, or maybe water got to it in the cooler.
Nasty.
Something like that. Yeah, I expect more if I go to a multi-millionaire's house. I'm like, you're going to feed me gray meat? Maybe it was a Beyond Burger and it was done. Who knows?
Yeah, that's probably what
I wouldn't know. I've never eaten one of the damn things.
Me either.
All right. Biden has not delivered on high-speed internet for a single family in 3 years.
Yeah, remember, this is what he touted a couple of years ago, that there was a internet or high-speed internet bill which basically gave $42.5 billion taxpayer dollars, and not one single home or business has been connected to new broadband networks nearly 3 years after he signed this bill into law. That is truly amazing.
Now, I'm torn on this between it being a utility, and Martin Mumptahan and I have had this conversation, between it being a utility, because it is now a necessity for education to have access to the internet.
Yep.
And one of his campaign things was we have something we call the Chevronals. It's a Chevron at McDonald's. And in his district, a lot of kids would go to the Chevronals and get a soda for whatever, 60 cents or whatever, so they could sit there and do their homework because they had Wi-Fi there. He has delivered more high-speed internet to his district than Biden has with all the billions he's had.
We've got a lot down. Yeah, we've got a lot down in the district too, where I'm in now. But they said, why this hasn't. They said they blamed it on the burdensome requirements. So this is requirements for getting some of this money and rolling out internet. So you had to. So it included climate change mandates. So if you wanted some of this money, you had to ensure that you met the mandates for climate change. There were preferences for hiring union workers. And the eligible companies were prioritized on the condition that their employment was based on justice-impacted people with criminal records. So that's who the money
DEI,
was going to.
So, environmentalism, DEI,
union workers,
and
criminals,
unions and criminals.
Yep, exactly.
And that didn't work.
Yeah, so that was the requirements to get some of this $42.5 billion 3 years ago that. Not one single dollar has been spent. So I guess from our perspective, hey, great that $42.5 billion has not been squandered or given out to companies to do this stuff. But yeah, what?
But it has. It's removed from our budget. It doesn't matter whether it's actually gone to somebody or not. It's gone from the government.
That
it's
is
gone
true.
from the budget.
Yeah, it's gone from our pockets.
We can't take that money and go, you know what, it didn't work. And this is something that Dugan said about government programs is we have to have the humility to say, well, that didn't work. Let's scrap it. And government never does. So we can't just take that $42 billion and say, you know what, taxpayers, we're sorry. Here's $5 back.
Yep.
But no, they'll continue this. And what they'll say is we didn't put enough money in it. In the next budget, they'll want to double it. That's their answer to everything is throw more money at it.
Yep, that's it.
All right. So we have what they're calling a debate is not a debate.
Yeah, it's not a traditional debate.
This coming Thursday. It's simply not a debate.
No.
The rules on this, and I was talking to you before the show, I admire Trump for taking all challengers, but the rules on this are stupid.
Can I ask you this? So they had a coin flip, and Biden won the coin flip for this debate, which meant he got to either choose if he was going to be on the left side of the stage or the right side of the stage, so he could pick one of those, or he could pick whether or not he wanted to close last, basically open or close. What? So he had that choice. So they said, you can either pick the side of the stage or you can pick whether you get the first or you get to whether or not you get to end the night. He picked the right side of the stage, and then it defaulted to President Trump, who said he wants to give the last remarks of the night, the closing statement.
Has he never watched a single football game in his life? I know he's been in a few because he acts like he's been in a few too many scrimmages without a helmet. Why
would you do that? Why would you not want to, as president, why would you not want to deliver the closing statement?
You always defer.
Yes.
You always defer. And then you pick the direction. You always defer. Heads, defer to the second half. Okay, we'll receive. Which way do you want to kick? That way.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know why you would pick the right side of the stage either. Does he have something? It's like something on his right side of his face?
We know that he's not all there, but does he think that Republicans are going to be confused? Like, oh, well, he's standing on the right side of the stage. He must be a conservative. Arr!
Yeah, I don't know. That's the strangest thing. He must be. I mean, obviously, he must be more comfortable on the left side of the stage versus the right. It's the only thing I can think.
I have no idea.
I really don't have any idea why.
Some of the other rules, they can cut your microphone. There's no crosstalk. There's no audience.
Nope, it's going to be 90 minutes in Atlanta. So it's going to be in Atlanta next Thursday night. You want to go over there and protest or something? Hold some signs up
Hell
for
no,
Trump?
I would be nowhere near Atlanta on Thursday.
I can't
You're
believe
gonna
it's
have
going to be
two.
Atlanta.
You're gonna have two motorcades.
Yep.
They're probably both gonna. One's gonna fly into Hartsfield, which actually Trump will probably go into PDK. Biden will probably go into Dobbins, which means they're both. One's gonna be coming from Decatur, one's gonna be coming from Marietta, and both motorcades will be going down that way. So yeah, I have no desire to be down there at all. Jake Tapper and Dana Bash Trump Bash will be moderating. And again, the reason they took the crowd out,
two liberals moderating at CNN.
I don't even think liberal's the right word for
I don't
it.
even know why Republicans continue though to go into these debates where they know they're going to be put on the defense right away. I'm sure the first question. What's the first question going to be about January 6th? I mean, it has to be, right?
No, it's not. It's going to be about Trump's conviction.
Yeah, about being convicted.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's going to be, now that you're a convicted felon, how do you think that's going to affect your presidency? Which, until he's passed sentence, he's not officially a convicted felon, by the way. I think if they go for the felon thing, I think they're going to feed Trump. The reason they removed the audience is Trump feeds off the audience.
Yep.
And Biden looks like a deer in the headlights. The other thing is, as of last Thursday, Biden is sequestered at Camp David doing debate prep. Now, I think Trump should take it a little more seriously and do a little.
Yeah, because his first debate last year was terrible, or 4 years ago. His first debate,
it was trash.
And if he comes off that way again this time, he'll go down in the polls again. He needs to be presidential in this, and he needs to stick to the economy and the border. If I was him, that's all I would talk about.
Border, economy, affordability. Stay away from DEI. Just stay away from it. I mean, look, those of us who know what it is are already leaning that way. There's no reason to hammer it. There's no reason to hammer his acuity. There's just we can see it. There's no reason to highlight it. Just don't call him old. You're only 4 years behind him. You're right. No matter what the question is, turn it back around to economy, border, and safety.
Yep.
And Trump needs to start saying names like Laken Riley and the 13-year-old girl who was raped and murdered by a guy who has already picked up by Border Patrol several times and released. That's what he needs to be hammering. Is he needs to be saying those poor girls' names.
Totally agree.
And say it over and over and over again. I don't care if they ask him what color shoes he's wearing. I want to talk about Laken Riley. Yep. I want to talk about these people. And parenthetically, that rapist that the New Yorkers did a citizen's arrest on, beautiful. They also beat the snot out of him so much that he was yelling for help and crawling under a car as they were kicking him. And they're like, help. That's what she was yelling, and started dragging him out and beating him again. I mean, they whooped old boy's ass.
Yeah.
And I can't believe Alvin Bragg isn't charging them with a hate crime.
It is surprising.
Okay, well, it's not said and done yet, but they beat a poor Hispanic migrant. I'm surprised Alvin Bragg hasn't jumped on that. But anyway, on that good news, Kenny, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I think I'm good this week. We've talked about a lot, so we'll let you close with yours.
I will close with, again, congratulations to you. I think that Pike County will do better with the gentle, guided hand of Ken Poland.
The gentle.
I will say the same thing I've said about some of the commissioners we have here is you won't put up with any monkey shines.
No.
That you can disagree with somebody, fine, but you're not going to put up with people texting each other in open meetings.
No.
You're not going to put up with going to executive session discussing anything outside of personnel, real estate, and legal issue or litigation.
Yep.
If anything outside of that, you'd be the first person to stand up and go, we can't discuss that in here, and probably shock the county attorney. So on a big win for Pike County, I'm Dave Roberts. Big thank you to Ken Poland, my partner in this endeavor, and Eric Cumby, who takes the awful audio and turns it into something you can listen to. Have a great week.
I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night. Try to catch me howling at the moon.